The following story is a translated and adapted conversation, recounting supernatural experiences from around the world. This content is intended for entertainment purposes only. Listen with an open mind and enjoy the thrill of the unknown. The content in this video is purely for entertainment. Viewer discretion is advised. If you are easily frightened, be prepared some stories might just send chills down your spine. If you're ready, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and immerse yourself in the world of the unexplained.
In the summer of 1976, the borderlands near Del Rio, Texas, were a place of stark beauty and unspoken tension. The Rio Grande, a sinuous ribbon of water, carved a natural divide between the United States and Mexico, its banks lined with mesquite, cactus, and sun-bleached rocks. By day, the desert shimmered under a merciless sun, the air thick with dust and the buzz of cicadas. By night, the stars burned cold, and the river's gurgle carried whispers of older conflicts battles from the Mexican-American War of 1846, when Texian militia clashed with Mexican soldiers, leaving blood in the sand. Locals spoke of a spectral drummer, Mexican soldier beheaded by Texians, his headless body doomed to march the river bank, his snare drum beating for vengeance. Into this liminal frontier stepped Corporal Jesse Morales, the 35-year-old U.S. Border Patrol agent stationed at Del Rio Sector Headquarters, a third-generation Tejano from Eagle Pass. Jesse was a man of duty, his life shaped by the border's rhythms, patrolling, tracking, detaining. His Catholic faith, inherited from his mother, anchored him. But the border's history weighed heavy, stories of war, betrayal, and ghosts that never rested. Assigned to a solo night patrol along the Rio Grande, Jesse was about to confront a past that refused to stay buried. Jesse's journey to the Rio Grande was a return to familiar ground. He joined the Border Patrol at 25, driven by a need to serve and a pride in his Tejano roots. Despite the border's complexities, family on both sides, loyalties torn by history. Del Rio, a dusty town of 30,000, was his latest post, its sector sprawling across 47,000 square miles of desert and river. His assignment was straightforward: patrol the river bank, monitor for crossings, report suspicious activity. But the border was never simple. Smugglers, migrants, and coyotes moved in the dark, and the river's edge felt alive, its shadows hiding more than men. Jesse drove his green and white Border Patrol Jeep from the station, the radio crackling with routine chatter checkpoints, sightings, weather updates. The July heat lingered, even at dusk, the air thick with the scent of creosote and river mud. His .38 revolver sat holstered, his flashlight clipped to his belt, his thermos of coffee a lifeline for the long night. The patrol route took him along a dirt track paralleling the Rio Grande, its banks a maze of reeds and mesquite, its water glinting under a waning moon. Local stories, shared over beers at the cantina, echoed in his mind. The drummer, a soldier from the Battle of Palo Alto, beheaded for refusing to surrender, his drum still beating, calling the dead. His first night was uneventful: tire tracks, a discarded water jug, coyote prints in the sand. Jesse's training kept him sharp, but his mother's rosary tucked in his pocket was a quiet comfort. She'd warned him of a spirit of spirits tied to the border's blood, restless for justice. He dismissed it as folklore, but the river's silence unnerved him, its gurgle too deliberate, like a voice waiting to speak. His radio buzzed, the dispatcher's voice faint. Morales, check Sector 7. Possible crossing. Jesse nodded, turning the Jeep toward a remote stretch near Felgate's Bend, unaware that the night was watching. First week was a grind of heat and vigilance. Jesse patrolled with Agent Carlos Reyes, wary rookie from Laredo, their Jeep bouncing over ruts, their flashlights sweeping the brush. They found signs of crossings, footprints, torn clothing, but no encounters. The desert swallowing its secrets. Felgate's Bend, a curve in the river where the bank narrowed, was a hot spot, its reeds thick, its shadows deep. Carlos shared the drummer's tale one night, his voice low. They say he was with Santa and his army. Texians caught him, took his head. Now he drums for venganza. Jesse scoffed, but his flashlight lingered on the river, the water's surface rippling without wind. Of duty, Jesse visited his cousin Rosa in Del Rio, her diner a hub for local gossip over tamales. She spoke of the drummer, her eyes serious. Jill saw him in 52, near the bend, headless, drumming, soldiers rising from the water. He quit the next day. Jesse laughed, but Rose's words clung to him, stirring memories of his mother's prayers, her warnings of Elma's impenitent souls in torment. The diner's jukebox played a mournful corrido, its lyrics of war and loss echoing the border's pain. Jesse's pride in his work felt heavier, a duty tied to a history he couldn't escape. By the second week, Jesse was assigned solo patrols, a nod to his experience. Carlos, on day shift, left him with a grin. Don't dance with the drummer. The other agent, Sanchez, a grizzled veteran, and Lopez, a nervous newbie, watched him go, their banter laced with unease. Jesse's route took him deeper into Felgate's Bend, the Jeep's headlights weak against the dark. The river's gurgle a constant companion. The air was cooler, the summer's heat fading. But the desert felt alive, its silence a predator waiting to pounce. On the night of July 18, 1976, a moonless sky blanketed the border, the stars hidden by clouds. The desert a void of black. Jesse's patrol began at 10 p.m., his Jeep parked near Felgate's Bend. His .38 checked, his flashlight sweeping the bank. The air was damp, the scent of river mud and mesquite thick, the silence oppressive, broken only by the gurgle of the Rio Grande and the distant yip of a coyote. His radio crackled with static, the dispatcher's voice cutting in and out. Morale, Sector 7. Report status, he responded, his voice steady, but the static grew, laced with faint, unintelligible Spanish curses, prayers, a voice not from the station. Jesse stepped from the Jeep, his boots crunching on gravel, his flashlight cutting through the dark. The riverbank was a maze of reeds and rocks, its shadows shifting as if hiding eyes. He checked for tracks, finding none, but the air grew colder, the desert's heat giving way to a chill that raised goosebumps. His rosary in his pocket felt heavy, almost warm, as if warning him. He thought of Rose's story, of the drummer, and felt a prickle of fear, his Catholic upbringing clashing with his training. Just the wind, he muttered, but the river's gurgle deepened like a heartbeat, deliberate and alive. He heard it, then a faint rat-a-tat, rhythmic, like a military march coming from the river. His pulse quickened, his flashlight sweeping the water, its beam catching nothing but ripples. The sound grew louder, a snare drum's beat vibrating through the sand, shaking his boots. His radio roared with static, now clear with Spanish curses, malditos, venganza, not from his team, not from anyone alive. Jesse called out, "This is Border Patrol, identify yourself." His voice echoed unanswered, but the drumbeat intensified, a relentless cadence that pressed against his chest. Jesse backed toward the Jeep, his .38 drawn, his flashlight trembling. The desert darkened, the clouds thickening, the river's gurgle a sinister undertone. The drumbeat became a thunder, each rat-a-tat a stab in his skull, the ground quaking, sand swirling like a storm. Through the fog rolling off the river, a figure emerged, tall, broad, in tattered red coattails. A Mexican soldier's uniform from 1846, its fabric soaked, its edges fraying like smoke. The figure was headless, its shoulders ending in a jagged, glistening stump, its hands clutching a bloodied snare drum, its sticks pounding a relentless beat. Jesse's breath caught, his rosary burning through his pocket, his voice a whisper, "Madre de Dios." The figure's stump seemed to stare, a void that drew his gaze, filling him with dread. A low, guttural wail rose not from a mouth, but from the air itself, vibrating through the river, chanting, "Venganza." Shadows rose from the water soldiers, their faces skeletal, their eyes glowing like embers. Their uniforms tattered, dripping with mud and blood. They crawled, their hands clawing the bank, their voices a grinding dirge. "Venganza, join us." The fog thickened, forming shapes, hands, faces, their eyes hollow, their mouths open in silent screams. Jesse's legs trembled, his flashlight flickering, its beam dead. The air plunged to freezing, his breath fogging, the desert's heat a distant memory. His mind flooded with visions, Palo Alto's battlefield, Texian blades, Mexican soldiers gutted, their blood soaking the sand. The visions weren't his, but they felt real, as if the river was forcing him to see its pain. He felt a jolt, as if his soul was being peeled open, his guilt for the border's divisions, his shame for serving a system that split families, his own safety while others died in the war's shadow. The drummer glided closer, its drumbeat a deafening storm, the ground softening, the sand pulling at Jesse's boots like quicksand. Cold, bony hands skeletal, dripping with river mud grazed his legs, their touch burning like frostbite, tugging him toward the Rio Grande. The spectral soldiers crawled faster, their glowing eyes locking on him, their dirge accusing. "You forgot us." Jesse's scream caught in his throat, his body paralyzed by a terror he'd never known. Not in chases, not in arrests, not anywhere. The drummer's stump towered, its sticks pounding. Each beat a knife in his skull, demanding, "Join us." Jesse's training kicked in, a flicker of instinct breaking the spell. He fired his .383 shots. The muzzle flashed blinding, the bullets passing through the drummer, embedding in the bank. The figure didn't falter, its drumbeat unrelenting, the soldier's hands tightening, their grip searing his skin. His radio screamed, the static now a chorus of Spanish wails, drowning his call for backup. He stumbled back, wrenching free, his boots slipping in the sand, and sprinted for the jeep. The fog chasing him, the drumbeat shaking the earth. He dove into the driver's seat, the key turning, the engine roaring. The headlights flared, catching the drummer's form, now closer, its stump glistening, its sticks a blur. The soldiers crawled along the bank, their glowing eyes piercing the fog, their dirge a deafening storm. Jesse floored the gas, the jeep lurching over ruts, the river's edge a blur. He glanced in the mirrors, his heart stopping. The drummer stood in the road, its headless form reflected, its drumbeat vibrating through the jeep's frame. The fog thickened, hands clawing at the windows, their touch frosting the glass, leaving streaks of mud. The jeep swerved, tires screeching, as Jesse prayed aloud, Virgin Maria protégée. Rosary in his pocket glowed, a faint warmth, and the drumbeat faltered, the hands retreating. He drove blindly, the fog a wall, until the headlights caught the sector's floodlights. Beacon in the dark, he skidded to a stop at the checkpoint, his breath ragged, his uniform torn, his legs bruised with claw-like marks. The drumbeat faded, but the mirrors showed a final glimpse. The drummer, distant, its stump staring, its stick still. Dawn broke over Del Rio, pale and hazy, the desert silent but charged with unease. Jesse sat in the station's break room, his hands trembling, his coffee untouched. Sanchez and Lopez arrived, their faces pale at his story. "You saw El Tamborilero," Sanchez said, crossing himself, admitting he'd heard the drum years ago but never spoke of it. Lopez, the newbie, checked the jeep, finding mud streaks on the windows. No source in the dry desert. Brooks, their supervisor, demanded a report, his gruffness hiding fear. No ghosts, morales. Righted as a misfire, but his eyes avoided the river's direction. Jesse searched the bank at first light, his .38 holstered, his rosary clutched. The sand was unmarked, no tracks, no drum, only the river's endless gurgle, now sinister. Like a laugh, he found his bullets embedded in a mesquite tree, their tips cold, coated with a film like blood. Carlos, back from day shift, noticed Jesse's bruises faint, claw-like, fading but raw. "Lo di frontera," he muttered, echoing Rose's warning. The other agents grew quiet. Their patrols doubled, their flashlights brighter, avoiding Felgate's Bend. Jesse's faith, once a rock, wavered. He prayed nightly, his rosary a lifeline, but the drumbeat echoed in his ears, the soldier's eyes haunting his dreams, visions of Palo Alto, of his own face among the dead, accusing him of complicity. His pride in his Tejano heritage felt tainted, the border a wound he'd helped reopen. The jeep's mirrors, clean, still showed streaks, like reflections of the drummer waiting. Jesse requested a transfer a week later, unable to face the Rio Grande. Brooks approved it, his sternness soft as if relieved. Carlos drove him to the bus, the desert stretching endless, river glinting like an eye. Jesse's radio off, crackled once, whispering venganza. He didn't look back, afraid of what he'd see. In Eagle Pass, he tried to resume his life, taking a desk job, avoiding the border. But the Rio Grande clung to him, a shadow that darkened his days. He couldn't sleep without hearing the drum, couldn't cross rivers without feeling those bony hands. His dreams were haunted by the drummer, by the soldiers, by his own face chanting, "Join us." Jesse stopped attending Mass, fearing the church's silence would summon the wail. He kept his .38 locked away, its way to curse and burn his patrol log, hoping to sever the link. Sometimes, at night, he heard the rat-a-tat rhythmic, relentless coming from his apartment's corners. He never looked, afraid of what he'd see, but the drummer's stump lingered, a stain that wouldn't fade. His mother's rosary, now tarnished, sat untouched, its warmth gone, a reminder that some borders were never truly crossed. A year later, Carlos sent Jesse a Polaroid from a patrol, the Rio Grande in the background. In one corner, a faint, blurry shape stood headless, in red coattails, drumming a bloodied snare surrounded by glowing orbs. The photo was streaked with mud, as if dredged from the river. Jesse burned it, his hands trembling, but the drumbeat lingered, a reminder that the Rio Grande's dead were never truly gone. In the autumn of 1983, Hadrian's Wall, stretching across the rugged borderlands of northern England, was a monument to a vanished empire, built by the Romans in 122 AD to mark the edge of Britannia. Its crumbling stones bore witness to centuries of conflict: Roman legionaries against Pictish tribes, English against Scots, and the ceaseless wind that howled through its gaps. By day, the wall drew hikers and historians, its ruins a picturesque relic. By night, the moors turned sinister, the fog cloaking tales of cursed soldiers, their lanterns glowing in the mist, seeking those who trespassed on their eternal watch. Into this ancient frontier stepped Private Fiona MacLeod, a 23-year-old British Army reservist from Glasgow, assigned to a NATO training exercise near the wall. Proud Scot with a fierce love for her heritage, Fiona joined the reserves to honor her father, a Falklands War veteran, and to prove her mettle in a male-dominated field. The exercise, a mock patrol to test navigation and stealth, brought her to the wall's desolate stretch near Halstead's fort, where locals whispered of Roman ghosts. Armed with a Sterling submachine gun, a flashlight, and a radio, Fiona was about to confront a past that refused to rest. Fiona's journey to Hadrian's Wall was a plunge into history. She boarded a military transport from Glasgow, the October rain lashing the windows, the Cumbrian hills looming gray and wet. The NATO exercise, part of Cold War maneuvers, involved reservists from across Britain simulating border defense against the Soviet threat. Fiona's unit, the 4th Battalion Royal Regiment of Scotland, was tasked with night patrols along the wall, navigating its rugged terrain to test endurance. The assignment thrilled her. Her love for Scottish history, rooted in tales of Wallace and Bruce, made the wall a living link to the past. Her base camp, a cluster of tents near Halsteads, buzzed with activity: soldiers cleaning rifles, officers barking orders, the air sharp with diesel and wet wool. Fiona's squad leader, Sergeant Ian Fraser, a grizzled Aberdonian, briefed them in a canvas tent: move in pairs, follow waypoints, avoid civilians, and ignore the ghost stories. He grunted, but his eyes lingered on the map, where the wall's path snaked through moors and crags. Fiona nodded, her Sterling slung, but the soldiers' whispers tales of Roman legionaries, cursed for desertion, their lanterns luring wanderers, stirred unease. Their first day, Fiona explored the camp, her boots sinking into mud, her breath fogging in the chill. The wall stones, moss-covered and jagged, loomed nearby, their silence heavy. As if guarding secrets, she felt a surge of pride. Her Scottish blood tied her to this land, its battles against invaders echoing her own resolve. But the moors beyond, shrouded in mist, felt watchful, their shadows too sharp, their silence too deep. Her father's stories of banshees and kelpies crept into her mind, a warning she dismissed as nerves. First week was a grind of drills and cold. Fiona patrolled with Corporal David "Davy" Kerr, a lanky Geordie with a quick wit and a knack for map reading. They trekked the wall's path by day, their Sterlings heavy, their flashlights sweeping crags and ditches. The moors were a maze of heather and bog, the wind howling. The wall's ruins a stark reminder of Rome's reach. They found signs of hikers' cigarette butts, a lost scarf but no threats. The exercise a test of stamina more than combat. Halstead's fort, a Roman ruin nearby, was their checkpoint, its stones whispering of lost legions. Of duty, Fiona visited a pub in Bardon Mill, the locals' accents thick, their stories darker. Over a pint, an old farmer spoke of the lanterns glowing orbs seen on the moors. Tied to legionaries who fled their posts, cursed to guard the wall forever, they chant Vigila. He said, his eyes distant, mean stay awake, don't follow the lights. Fiona noted the tale in her journal, her historian's curiosity piqued, but her stomach twisted. The farmer's words echoing her father's tales of spirits bound to battlegrounds. The pub's fire crackled, its warmth failing to chase the chill in her bones. By the second week, Fiona was assigned a solo patrol, a test of her navigation skills. Davy, on rest, left her with a grin. Don't chase lanterns, lass, the other soldier's Fraser. A quiet private named Maggie and a cocky corporal named Tom watched her go, their banter laced with unease. Fiona's route took her west of Halsteads, the wall stones her guide, the moors a sea of fog. The air was colder, the autumn's bite sharpening, but the wall felt alive. its silence a predator waiting to strike. On the night of October 12, 1983, a dense fog rolled in from the North Sea, blanketing the moors. The wall stones barely visible. Fiona's patrol began at 11 p.m., her sterling slung, her flashlight cutting through the mist, her radio crackling with static. She followed a narrow path along the wall, her boots sinking into mud. The air damp with the scent of peat and wet stone, the silence was oppressive, broken only by the wind's howl and the distant bleat of a sheep. Her map, tucked in her pocket, was useless in the fog, her instincts her only guide. The wall's ruins loomed, their stones jagged, their gaps like mouths whispering secrets. Fiona checked her radio, calling in McLeod, waypoint 3, all clear. The static roared, her squad's voices faint, drowned by a low rhythmic chant, Vigila, Vigila, in Latin. Not from her team, not from anyone alive. Her pulse quickened, her flashlight sweeping the path, its beam swallowed by the fog. The chant grew louder, a grinding dirge vibrating through the stones, pressing against her chest. She thought of the farmer's tale, of the lanterns, and felt a prickle of fear, her Scottish pride clashing with a child's dread of the dark. She heard it, then a faint clink, like metal on stone, followed by flickering lights, lanterns. Glowing orb swaying without hands floating above the moor, her flashlight flickered, its beam dimming, and the air plunged to freezing, her breath fogging despite the wool of her uniform. She called, "Out, this is British Army, identify yourself." Her voice echoed unanswered, but the lanterns moved closer, their glow sickly, casting shadows that writhed like serpents. The chant intensified, Vigila, stay with us, its Latin cadence alien, its tone a plea and a command. Fiona backed against the wall, her sterling raised, her flashlight dead, the fog a suffocating veil. The lanterns pulsed, each orb a heartbeat leading into the Moor's black heart. The clink became a march, boots on stone, armor rattling, swords scraping sheaths. Through the mist, figures emerged, tall, armored, in Roman lorica segmentata, their helmets rusted, their faces skeletal, their eye sockets voids dripping with spectral blood. They carried short swords, gladdy, their blades glinting with a crimson sheen, their shields scarred, their steps eerily synchronized. Fiona's breath caught, her father's stories flooding back, spirits bound to their failures. Cursed to Rome, the lead figure, a centurion, raised a lantern, its glow burning her eyes. Its face a grinning skull, its voice a grinding dirge, stay with us. The others marched, their voids locking on her, their chant a deafening storm, Vigila, join us. Shadows rose from the more legionaries, their armor tattered, their hands clawing the air. Their voices a chorus of Latin wails, accusing, you forgot us. The fog thickened, forming shapes, hands, faces, their voids hollow, their mouths open in silent screams. Fiona's legs trembled, her sterling useless, its barrel trembling, the ground softened, the mud pulling at her boots like quicksand, the moor's surface rippling as if alive, cold. Ironclad hands skeletal, dripping with blood, grazed her neck, their touch burning like frostbite. Tugging her toward the lanterns, her radio screamed, the static now a Latin cacophony, drowning her squad's calls. Her mind flooded with visions, Mithraic altars, Pictish raids, legionaries gutted on the wall, their blood soaking the stones. The visions weren't hers, but they felt real, as if the Moor was forcing her to see its pain. She felt a jolt, as if her soul was being peeled open, her guilt for modern borders, her shame for glorifying war, her own safety while the dead lingered. The centurion glided closer, its lantern inches from her face, its void searing into her soul. Demanding, join us, the legionaries marched, their swords raised, their dirge a knife in her skull. Fiona's scream caught in her throat, her body paralyzed by a terror she'd never known, not in training, not in Glasgow's roughest streets, not anywhere. Fiona's instinct snapped her free, a flicker of survival breaking the spell. She fired her sterling short bursts, the muzzle flash blinding, the bullets passing through the legionaries, embedding in the wall. The figures didn't falter, their chant unrelenting, the hands tightening, their grip searing her skin, her radio screamed, Vigila, drowning her cries for help. She stumbled back, wrenching free, her boots slipping in the mud, and ran, the fog chasing her, the lantern's glow burning her back. She sprinted along the wall, the stones her only guide, the Moor's surface sucking at her boots. The wind howling like a banshee, the chant followed, a relentless dirge. The clink of armor closing in, the lantern's light pulsing like eyes. She glanced back, her heart stopping. The centurion led the march, its skull grinning, its lantern raised, the legionary's void staring through the fog. The ground trembled, hands clawing from the mud, their touch frosting her uniform, leaving streaks of blood. Fiona prayed aloud, God help me, her Scottish barrage, but the chant drowned her words. Its Latin cadence a curse, the fog parted, revealing a natal flare, red and distant, fired by her squad. Davy's voice crackled through the radio, faint but sharp. McLeod, where are you? The flare jolted her, and she ran toward it, the walls, stones fading, the more a black sea. The lanterns faltered, their glow dimming, the hands retreating, but the chant lingered. A grinding echo. She reached a checkpoint, collapsing in the mud, her sterling clattering, her breath ragged. The flare's light revealed her squad, Davy, Maggie, Tom, their faces pale, their rifles raised, scanning the fog. Dawn broke over the moors, pale and gray, the walls stone silent but charged with unease. Fiona sat in a medic tent, her hands trembling, her tea untouched. Her uniform was slashed, jagged tears at the neck. No source in the mud, her skin bore frostbite marks, faint but raw, despite the autumn chill. Davy, shaken, admitted hearing chants during his patrol, his wit gone. Maggie, the quiet private, prayed silently, her rosary trembling, whispering about her grand's tales of Roman ghosts. Tom, the hockey corporal, scoffed but avoided the wall, his hands shaking. Fraser demanded a report, his gruffness hiding fear. No ghosts. McLeod righted his disorientation, but his eyes avoided the moor. Fiona searched the path at first light, her sterling slung, her heart pounding. The mud was unmarked, no tracks, no lanterns, only the walls, endless stones, now sinister like sentinels watching. She found her bullets embedded in a crag, their tips cold, coated with a film like blood. The farmer's tale echoed, his warning of Vigila, a weight she couldn't shake. Her squad grew quiet, their patrols doubled, their flashlights brighter, avoiding the Moor's heart. Fiona's pride, once afire, wavered. She slept fitfully. The chant echoing, stay with us, the legionary's voids haunting her dreams, visions of battles. Altars, her own face among the dead, accusing her of trespass. Her Scottish heritage felt tainted, the wall a wound she'd reopened. Her uniform, repaired, still bore faint slashes like scars, a reminder of the hands that grazed her. Fiona requested a discharge a week later, unable to face the wall. Fraser approved it, his sternness soft as if relieved. Davy drove her to Newcastle, the moors stretching endless. The wall stones glinting like eyes, her radio off, crackled once, whispering Vigila. She didn't look back, afraid of what she'd see. In Glasgow, she tried to resume her life, taking a library job, avoiding military talk. But Hadrian's Wall clung to her, a shadow that darkened her days. She couldn't sleep without hearing the chant, couldn't cross fields without feeling those ironclad hands. Her dreams were haunted by the legionaries, their voids staring, their dirge echoing, join us. Fiona stopped visiting ruins, fearing the stone's pull, and kept her Sterling's manual locked away, its weight a curse. She burned her patrol log, hoping to sever the link, but the chant persisted, faint but clear, a reminder that some walls were never truly crossed. Sometimes, at night, she saw lanterns glowing, swaying in her flat's corners. She never looked, afraid of what she'd see, but the centurion's skull lingered, a stain that wouldn't fade. A year later, Maggie sent Fiona a photo from a patrol, the walls, stones in the background. In one corner, faint, blurry orbs glowed, lanterns swaying, surrounded by armored shapes. The photo was streaked with frost, as if touched by the Moor. Fiona burned it, her hands trembling. But the chant lingered, a reminder that Hadrian's Wall's dead were never truly gone.